Reptiles, on the other hand, are mostly pretty quiet. Imagine you're back in that ancient swamp. Millions more years have passed, and some of the amphibians have become independent of water. They've become reptiles.
Hello. Come on, let's blow this pop stand.
And once they were established, reptiles ruled. It's called the Age of Reptiles.
Then what happened?
What?
Then, about 65 million years ago, most of the species that lived then disappeared. Nobody knows for sure why.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Only 4 kinds of reptiles survived. Turtles.
Hi, how are ya?
Lizards.
Hey, baby, how you doing?
And their close relative snakes.
So nice to meet you.
Crocodilians.
Hello, how do you do?
And tuateras.
What was that last one?
Tuateras.
Me, stupid.
There are only 2 species left, and they probably look a lot like their ancient ancestors. They're often called living fossils. Now the lonely tuateras live on just a few small islands off the coast of New Zealand. They're protected by the government. There aren't many of them left.
I think now would be a good time to explain to us what makes a reptile a reptile.
Basically, this is what reptiles have in common. Vertebrates! Right. As I've already mentioned, they have backbones, just like amphibians, and fishes, and birds, and humans. In fact, snakes are the most flexible of all vertebrates. Even my yoga teacher couldn't do that. Second, unlike amphibians, all reptiles must breathe air all their lives.
How about sea snakes and sea turtles? Don't they spend most of their time underwater?
They still have to come up for air once in a while. Which brings us to another reptile characteristic. Most reptiles lay eggs, which are hard or leathery, and they lay them on land. The eggs have a membrane inside that keeps the embryo from drying out. This means that reptiles are not tied to water the way amphibians are. Once they've hatched, reptiles look like smaller versions of their parents. And they're pretty much fully developed and able to take care of themselves. These hatchlings will be as green as their mother in about 6 months. Okay, another big point about reptiles. They're all cold-blooded.
Like amphibians.
Right. Sometimes you'll see reptiles sunning themselves. They're warming up their body temperatures. When they're too hot, they move to a cooler spot. Final point. All reptiles have dry, scaly skin.
But snakes sure look slimy.
Nope, they're not. The ranger at a nature center showed my brother and me how to hold one. It was as smooth as silk. Felt neat. A reptile's scaly skin helps it retain moisture. And remember about amphibians absorbing water through their skin? Well, reptiles can't do that, but snakes and lizards can smell with their tongues.
You must be joking.
So that's why they're always sticking their tongues out.
A snake collects odor particles from the air with its tongue. It's got something in its mouth called a Jacobson's organ that processes the smell.
What kinds of reptiles are there the most of?
Snakes and lizards. in the same group because snakes evolved from lizards. They're basically lizards without legs. There are about 3,000 species of lizards. And 2,500 species of snakes.
Yuck. I don't mind lizards, but that's too many snakes.
Most snakes are harmless to us, and they're a lot more frightened of you than you are of them. For good reason, too. We kill a lot more snakes than they kill people. For instance, a bite to the head, a quick snap of the spine, and there'll be python for dinner in this Australian Aborigines family. In America, usually only the skins are used. Snakes can be really beautiful. Just look at the incredible colors and patterns. Their scales are made of the same stuff as our fingernails. Keratin? Exactly. And this is really neat. Whenever it needs a new, larger skin, a snake simply sheds its old one.
You call them beautiful, I call them scary.
Some snakes are pretty scary, especially the giant ones like pythons and boas. And one of the biggest of all, the anaconda. An anaconda can be as long as a telephone pole, and it loves to swim. These giants are all constrictors. That means they squeeze the breath out of their prey. Then they swallow them whole. They don't actually crush their victims.
Great. What a way to go.
Relax, you'll probably never see one. Unless you go to a zoo. Or someone's crazy enough to keep one as a pet. Or if you travel abroad. By the way, snake charmers aren't as crazy as they look. They sit just out of striking distance of their cobras. Besides, snakes are deaf. The cobras follow the movement of the musicians, not the music. Cobras are scary, but vipers are even more scary.
Watch out! Let's go.
A viper's fangs fold down from the roof of its mouth like switchblades.
Oh, the poor little animal. Fight him. Get him off you. Get him off you.
A viper injects its prey with powerful venom. Then the snake swallows it whole. That's really disgusting. All snakes can swallow prey that's bigger even than their heads because their jaws unhinge. When you think about it, how else is an animal without arms or legs gonna catch and swallow its food? Vipers are just very, very good at it.
Well, I'm impressed.
And speaking of impressive, let me introduce you to the pit vipers. Most pit vipers, like rattlesnakes, copperheads, and water moccasins, live in the Americas.
Are we the lucky ones?
Look out, he's coming towards you.
The name pit viper comes from the two pits or openings on the snake's head. These pits can detect the body heat of mammals or birds more than half a meter away. This gives pit vipers a real advantage when they're hunting at night. Of course, most snakes are not only harmless, they're beneficial. For one thing, they help keep the rodent population under control.
Just remember to admire snakes from a respectful distance, just like any other animal in the wild.
Yeah, and that's the way snakes like it too. That's why they have warning signals, like this rattlesnake's rattle. And well, would you want to go anywhere near this spinning cobra?
I'll pass.
Lizzie, isn't it about time for lizards?
Lizards! Leaping lizards! There are so many neat lizards. Just look at this thorny devil. In fact, that's its name, thorny devil. Look at some other ways lizards discourage their enemies. The Australian frilled lizard raises its frill when it feels threatened. Makes it look a lot scarier, don't you think?
I wouldn't mess with it.
And you're not gonna believe this guy.
He's kind of cute.
A basilisk lizard from Central America can actually run across the water when it has to.
Hey, look at that.
Here's another neat trick most lizards can perform when they need to. They can break their tails off. Not only that, the broken piece twitches. That distracts the predator while the lizard gets away. A new tail grows later, but it'll always be shorter. In the camouflage department, chameleons and animals are famous for changing color.
Oh yeah, they can change their colors to match their surroundings.
Well, no. That's what a lot of people think, but actually, their color changes because of the temperature.
Look at all those colors.
Or maybe because they had a fight with another lizard. Not because they want to blend in with the background. Their shape is what really hides them. The animal hardly stands out from the leaves as long as it stays still. And with eyes like these, chameleons don't even have to move their heads to see.
Wow, talk about Popeyes.
A chameleon's eyes swivel around in their sockets individually.
Okay.
While one eye is looking in one direction, scanning for predators and food, the other can be looking in the other direction.
That would be really handy for keeping an eye on you guys.
Hey, we're being good.
Yeah, just like always.
Yeah.
Another thing chameleons are really good at, zapping stuff with their tongues.
Ew.
Gotcha. Zap.
Ew.
Yeah, got him. Zap. Look at that. Help me.
Okay.
It got me. Oh no.
One last lizard. This one doesn't need any special talents for defense. Its size is enough.
Now that's a lizard.
The Komodo Dragon can be 3 meters long. It lives on a few islands in Southeast Asia. Now, on to the crocodilians. Your alligators. Your crocodiles. Your gavials. Crocodilians differ in size and in the shape of their heads.
Which is the biggest?
A saltwater crocodile is the biggest. It can be more than 7 meters long. That's about the length of a small school bus. The American alligator has a wide snout. The game eel of Southeast Asia has a long, slender snout. None of the crocodilians can chew their prey. They can't grind their teeth. Small stuff they can swallow whole. The bigger meals they rip into bite-sized chunks by swinging their heads from side to side.
That's nasty.
Gross.
Yeah. And I don't think much of the table manners either.
An interesting thing about the crocodilians is that they're attentive mothers, especially when you compare them to other reptiles. Most reptiles lay their eggs and take off, leaving their hatchlings to take care of themselves. But not crocodiles. In Australia, a crocodile mother protects her eggs, hovering close by. Her eggs are in danger from all sorts of predators. Monitor lizards would love to have an egg or two for lunch. Mom to the rescue!
Jeez, that's amazing.
Yeah. On the other side of the world, an American alligator mother carries her hatchlings in her mouth to a safe pond or stream.
That is so cool.
Then she watches over them until they're old enough to fend for themselves. A turtle often takes advantage of an alligator's nest for its own eggs. Without the alligator's permission, of course. A turtle's best defense is what?
Its shell?
Right. A turtle carries its house on its back and on its belly, attached to its backbone and ribs. I'm particularly fond of turtles because my family has a pet box turtle named Alice. Here's Alice at the garden hose. She's about 20 years old.
Come on, Lizzie, you're exaggerating.
No, I'm not. Tortoises can live more than 100 years.
What's the difference between a turtle and a tortoise, Lizzie?
They're all turtles. A tortoise is generally a land turtle. A marine turtle is, well, a turtle that lives in the ocean. Freshwater turtles live on land and in fresh water.
I thought all reptiles need to breathe air.
They do. Turtles have to come up for air at some point, just like sea snakes and marine lizards. Most freshwater turtles have snouts that are kind of like snorkels. They can stick them above water to suck in air. Turtles that spend a lot of time in water also have thinner shells and flippers instead of feet. Even though they spend most of their time in water, marine turtles lay their eggs on land, usually returning to where they themselves hatched years before. Turtle eggs and hatchlings are delicacies for many animals, especially birds. A mother turtle may lay hundreds, even thousands of eggs, but only a few of the babies, maybe one or two, if any, will make it to adulthood.
Oh, how sad.
That's why turtles lay so many eggs. Just think, if they all survived, there'd be a definite turtle overpopulation problem.
Go, go.
You'd want too many of these guys around. Step on one of them, you might lose some toes. The snapping turtle has a face only its mother could love.
It sure is well camouflaged.
Oh!
Come on.
That's gotta hurt.
That's kind of sick.
Thank you, Lizzie. You've given us a lot to think about. Can you summarize the similarities and differences between amphibians and reptiles?
Okay. Amphibians and reptiles are vertebrates, air-breathing, and cold-blooded. However, amphibians have moist skin, while reptiles have dry, scaly skin. Amphibians lay soft eggs in damp places, whereas most reptiles lay eggs with protective shells on land.